I'll accuse you, Mama. Accuse you of kidnapping my 3 children if you don't let me have your inheritance now.
Your own mother?
I love you, Mama, but I love my future more.
The judge's gavel strikes the wooden table. The sound echoes through the courtroom. I'm Elanar, 67 years old, sitting here with my wrinkled hands clutching a yellow envelope I've kept for 13 years. My heart pounds so hard I'm afraid everyone can hear it. Across from me is my daughter Adabisi in her elegant suit. Her lawyer points at me as if I'm a criminal. Her eyes burn with rage I don't understand, or perhaps understand all too well. Attorney Chijioke Oladele reviews papers with the confidence of someone who believes they have the truth on their side. Your Honor, Adabisi says, her voice trembling but firm. My mother has had my children for 13 years without my consent. This constitutes parental kidnapping. I never authorized her to take them. The word pierces my chest. Kidnapping. I look back and see my 3 grandchildren, Chukwudi, 20, Amara, 18, Adeze, 16. They sit in the 3rd row, faces pale, confused, as if watching a movie they don't understand. Judge Emeka Nwosu, a man with grey hair and tired eyes, observes me over his glasses. Mama Elanar, what do you have to say to these accusations? My fingers squeeze the envelope. Inside are the proofs of a truth I've held for years, protecting it like a treasure or a wound that can't heal. Your Honor, I didn't kidnap anyone. I simply raised the children my daughter abandoned at my doorstep. That's a lie, Adabisi shouts, standing up. I never abandoned them. I had mental health issues. I needed temporary help. Her lawyer calms her with a hand gesture. Your Honor, my client was hospitalized for severe postpartum depression. She needed urgent medical treatment. Mama Elanar took advantage of that vulnerability to keep the children and alienate them from their biological mother. The courtroom fills with whispers. Some people nod as if they've already decided who the victim is. But I know the truth. I've lived it day after day for 13 years. Early mornings, fevers, homework, hugs when they cried asking for their mama. Before I continue, let me ask you something. If your own child left their children with you and disappeared for 13 years, what would you do? Would you raise them? Would you fight for them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know what you think. Hello friends, welcome to our story. Before we start, please like this video and subscribe. Also, tell us in the comments where you are watching from. New York, London, maybe South Africa or Jamaica. We want to know. Mama Elanar, the judge says in a softer tone, I understand that caring for your grandchildren must have been difficult, but if the biological mother is requesting custody… With all due respect, Your Honor, I interrupt, my voice firmer than I expected. There are things this court needs to know before making any decision. I raise the yellow envelope high. Adabisi's eyes widen with what looks like fear. I have documents that will completely change this conversation. The judge leans forward. What kind of documents? Proof of what really happened 13 years ago. Proof of why my daughter is here today. And it's not from maternal love. My voice trembles slightly, not from fear, but from an emotion I can't name. Adabisi turns pale. Mama, please don't do this. Do what, daughter? Tell the truth? Attorney Oladele clears his throat. Your Honor, Mama Elanar is trying to divert attention from the main issue. Documents from the past don't change the fact that my client has legal rights to her children. On the contrary, I say, looking directly into my daughter's eyes, these documents explain exactly why we are here today. They explain why, after 13 years of absolute silence, of not sending a single naira for her children's expenses, of not even calling at Christmas, my daughter suddenly appears with a lawyer. The silence in the room is heavy, like the air before a storm. The judge looks at me intently. Mama Elanar, are you suggesting there are hidden motives in this lawsuit? I'm not suggesting anything, Your Honor. I'm stating that there are, and it's all documented here. My eyes meet Adabisi's. I see in them the same expression she had as a child when I caught her in mischief. Mama, Adabisi whispers, please think about what you're doing. I've had 13 years to think. 13 years of sleepless nights when Chukwudi had a fever. 13 years of school meetings where I was the only family member present. 13 years waiting for a call from you that never came. Judge Nwosu gently taps his gavel. Mama Elanar, are you willing to present these documents as evidence in this case? I look at the envelope in my hands. Inside are the letters Adabisi wrote to me, the photos I kept, the receipts I saved. And something else. Something even my grandchildren don't know I have. Something that will change everything. Yes, Your Honor, I am ready. The judge nods. Very well, Mama Elanar, but before examining these documents, I would like to hear your full account of the facts. Tell us what happened 13 years ago. I close my eyes for a moment and transport myself back to that day. It was a rainy Tuesday in October. I was in my small kitchen in Yaba, preparing zobo to calm my nerves after a doctor's appointment, where my arthritis had been confirmed to be worsening. Then I heard the knocks on the door. It was near noon. Adabisi appeared at my door with the 3 children. Chukwudi was 7 years old, Amara 5, and Adai's barely 3. They were dirty, their clothes wrinkled, and the little ones were crying from hunger. I look over at my grandchildren. Chukwudi gives me a sad smile, as if remembering fragments of that day. Amara's eyes are glassy. Adaize, my little Adaize, hugs herself as she did when she was a scared child. My daughter entered my house like a hurricane. She carried a plastic bag with some of the children's clothes, all jumbled, nothing clean. She told me, "Mama, I need you to keep them for a while. It will only be a few weeks until I sort out my problems." Adabisi lowers her gaze. Her lawyer whispers something in her ear, but she doesn't respond. I know she remembers that day as clearly as I do. I asked her what problems, if she needed financial help, if something had happened with the children's father. But she just kept repeating that she would be back soon. She gave each of them a quick kiss and left. The children ran to the window shouting, "Mummy, Mummy!" But she had already gotten into a danfo and was gone. That night, Chukwudi asked me when his mama was coming back. I told him soon. Adaize cried because she wanted her teddy bear that had been left at Adabisi's house. Amara, my sweet Amara, helped me prepare dinner with her little hands, as if she understood that it was now my responsibility to keep everyone together. Days passed, then weeks. I didn't know where Adabisi lived because she had moved. I had no phone to reach her. The children asked about her every day. Chukwudi started wetting the bed at night. Amara stopped talking for almost a month. Adaize developed a cough that wouldn't go away. I decided to enroll them in the school near my house. I needed their documents, birth certificates. I went to Adabisi's old address in Surulere. The neighbors told me she had left the apartment without paying 3 months' rent. The landlady handed me a box of things my daughter had left behind, including some of the children's papers. Judge Nwosu takes notes. "Did you try to report the situation to the authorities?" "Your Honor, I thought it was temporary. Adabisi had had problems before, but she had never completely abandoned her children. I believed she would return. Besides, what was I going to say? That my daughter had left her children with me and wasn't coming back. At that moment, there was no crime. It was a mother who had left her children with their grandmother." I pause and look directly at Adabisi. But months passed, then years. Chukwudi turned 8 and he asked if he could invite his mama to his party. I told him we would try to find her. Amara started first grade. When the teacher asked about her parents, she pointed to me and said, "This is my mama, Elanar." Tears threatened to fall, but I hold them back. It's not time to cry. It's time to remember. Expenses multiplied. My pension barely covered me alone. Suddenly, I had to feed, clothe, and educate 3 children. I sold some jewelry I had saved. I took a job cleaning houses in Lekki on weekends. A neighbor, Mama Ngozi, helped me by watching the little ones when I went to work. The judge looks up. "Any relation to me?" "She's my sister, Your Honor, and she can testify about everything we went through those first few years." Adabisi and her lawyer exchange worried glances. They hadn't expected this. When Adaize turned 5, we had a crisis. She got pneumonia and we had to hospitalize her at Lagos University Teaching Hospital. The doctors asked for health insurance, parental authorization, documents I didn't have. That's when I decided to go through the legal process to obtain temporary guardianship of the children. My voice grows firmer. I hired a lawyer with the few savings I had left. It was necessary. The lawyer tried to locate Adabisi to notify her about the guardianship process. We published notices in the newspaper as required by law. No one responded. "Did you obtain legal guardianship?" the judge asks. "Yes, Your Honor. 10 years ago, this very court granted me legal guardianship of my 3 grandchildren. I have all the documents. For 3 years, the law required us to continue searching for the biological mother. She never appeared, never called, never sent a single naira." Adabisi stands up abruptly. "I was sick. I had depression. I couldn't take care of them in that state." "Please sit down," the judge orders firmly. "Continue, Mama Elanar." "The children grew up with me. Chukwudi graduated from secondary school with honors. Amara won poetry contests. Adesi learned to play guitar and formed a band at school. They went to therapy when they needed it. I took them to the doctor for vaccinations, to all their school events. I celebrated every birthday, every achievement, every important moment of their lives. I look at my grandchildren. Chukwudi nods with tears in his eyes. I never lied to them about their mother. I always told them she loved them but couldn't take care of them at that time. I showed them pictures of her when they were babies. I saved every drawing they made for her, hoping she would return. And they never had contact with her during all these years, the judge asks. Not once, Your Honor, until 2 months ago when she appeared at my door with her lawyer and a custody demand. The judge leans forward. 2 months? And what changed after 13 years of total absence? I smile slightly because here comes the part Adabisi doesn't want known. I raise the yellow envelope. That answer, Your Honor, is in these documents. Judge Nwosu extends his hand toward me. Mama Elanar, please approach and present the documents you mentioned. I stand up slowly, feeling my knees protest with arthritis, but my determination is stronger than any physical pain. I walk toward the stand with the yellow envelope clutched to my chest. I can hear Adabisi's nervous heels clicking against the wooden floor. Your Honor, Attorney Oladel says, standing up, I request that any document presented be examined by the defense before being admitted as evidence. Of course, the judge replies. Mama Elanar, hand the documents to the clerk to be reviewed by both parties. I open the envelope carefully as if it were a treasure chest I'd protected for years. My fingers tremble slightly, not from fear, but from the emotion that the truth is finally coming to light. Inside are photographs, handwritten letters, receipts, and some folded papers that form the heart of this story. Let's start with this, I say, pulling out a packet of photographs tied with a red ribbon. The clerk takes the photographs and passes them to the judge, who examines them one by one. His expression gradually changes, becoming more serious. Describe what we see in these images, Mama Elanar. The first photo shows Chukwudi in dirty, torn clothes. You can see his shoes have holes in the soles. The second is of Amara, who had dried food marks on her face and tangled hair. The third is of Adesi, my little Adesi, who was wearing a diaper that clearly hadn't been changed in hours. Adabisi covers her face with her hands. Her lawyer whispers something to her, but she shakes her head repeatedly. Your Honor, I took these photos because I wanted to document the condition in which the children arrived at my home. Not with the intention of using them against her, but because a nurse neighbor advised me that it was important to keep a record of everything. The judge passes the photos to Adabisi's lawyer, who quickly reviews them and shows them to his client. I see my daughter close her eyes tightly as if trying to erase those memories. Now, I say, pulling out a second group of documents, these are the letters Adabisi wrote to me during the first 6 months after leaving the children. The judge takes the letters and immediately notices the handwritten script. These are written in your daughter's own hand. Yes, Your Honor, I'd recognize her handwriting anywhere. I look at Adabisi. Tell the judge what those letters said, daughter. Adabisi remains silent, but her lawyer takes the letters and begins to read them. His expression changes dramatically as he reads. Your Honor, I say with a clear voice, in the first letter, dated 3 weeks after she left the children, Adabisi wrote to me that she had met a man named Chijioke Okoro and that she was moving with him to Abuja. She asked me to take care of the children a little longer because her new partner didn't want immediate family responsibilities. The silence in the room is so profound that you could hear a pin drop. All eyes are fixed on Adabisi, who has begun to cry silently. In the second letter, she informed me that she was pregnant with Chijioke's child and that she couldn't return for the children because he had threatened to leave her if she brought burdens from the past into their new life. Pregnant? The judge asks with surprise. Yes, Your Honor. My daughter had another child with Chijioke Okoro, a boy who is now 12 years old and lives with them in Abuja. A child she could raise because it was convenient for her new relationship. Chukwudi, Amara, and Adaeze exchange looks of shock from their seats. This information is new to them. I never told them they had a younger brother because I didn't want to hurt them more than they already were. I want to pause here and ask you something. Can you imagine discovering you have a sibling your mother chose to raise while abandoning you? Which part of this story has hit you the hardest so far? Tell us in the comments below. In the third letter, my voice grows harder. Adabisi asked me to sign some papers officially renouncing any claim to her so she could start a new life without legal complications. She offered me money for the expenses I had incurred with her children up to that point. Attorney Oladale is pale. This information was clearly not part of the version his client had told him. And you signed those papers? The judge asks. No, Your Honor. I wrote back telling her I didn't want her money, but if she really wanted to disappear from our lives, she should do it completely. I told her not to contact us again until she was truly ready to be a mother. I pull another document from the envelope. This is her response to my letter, the last communication we had in 13 years. The judge reads the document and his expression hardens noticeably. Mama Elanar, can you read aloud what this letter says? I take the paper with trembling hands, but my voice comes out firm and clear. Mama, it's fine. I won't bother you anymore. Take good care of the children because I have my own family now. If anyone ever asks, tell them their mama had to go far away for work. I don't want them to suffer anymore. Sincerely, Adabisi. Tears stream down my grandchildren's cheeks. Chukwudi rises from his seat as if to approach me, but Amara stops him, taking his arm. Your Honor, for 13 years I respected that decision. I never looked for my daughter. I never tried to contact her. I raised her children with love, with the few resources I had, hoping that someday she would mature and return for the right reasons. And why do you believe she has returned now? The judge asks. I smile sadly as I pull the last document from the envelope. Because 3 months ago, Your Honor, my brother Arthur, Adabisi's uncle, who lived in Abuja and had no children, passed away. The judge leans forward with renewed interest. And what does that have to do with this case? My brother left a significant inheritance to each of his grandchildren, 50 million naira, approximately $33,000 to each of them, Chukwudi, Amara, and Adaeze, respectively. Adabisi sobs louder, and her lawyer seems to be considering abandoning the case. But the inheritance can only be claimed by the children if they are under the custody of a direct relative, their mother or their grandmother. And I, as their current legal guardian, had already initiated the procedures for them to access that money when they came of age. The judge looks at me intently. Are you suggesting that Mrs. Adabisi returned solely to gain access to her children's inheritance? I pull the final paper from the envelope. Your Honor, this is a private report I commissioned about my daughter's activities in recent months. It shows that exactly 2.5 months ago, she hired the services of attorney Chijioke Oladele and began investigating my brother's inheritance. Adabisi's lawyer stands up abruptly. Objection. That investigation is private and illegal. It's completely legal, I reply calmly. I hired a licensed private investigator after my daughter suddenly appeared at my door with legal threats. I had every right to protect my grandchildren. The judge taps his gavel. Order in the court. He looks at me with an expression that mixes respect and curiosity. Mama Elanar, is there anything else in that envelope the court should know? I look at the envelope, which now feels much lighter, but I know it still holds the most important secret of all. Yes, Your Honor. There's something else, something even my grandchildren don't know yet. Did you see that coming? This betrayal is on another level. Do you think Adabisi deserves to be forgiven for this? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you think. Judge Nwosu adjusts his glasses. Mama Elanar, what else does that envelope contain that you consider relevant to this case? My fingers search for the last document hidden at the bottom of the yellow envelope. It's a sheet folded several times, yellowed with time, but containing the most important words of this story. However, before revealing it, I know there's something I must do. Your Honor, before showing this last document, I would like the court to hear directly from my grandchildren. I believe it's only fair that they express their own opinion about this situation. Adabisi sits up in her seat with hope in her eyes. Her lawyer nods quickly. The judge considers the request. Very well, Chukwudi, please approach the stand. My eldest grandson rises slowly. At 20 years old, Chukwudi is a tall, slender young man with his grandfather's intelligent eyes and the sensitivity he inherited from our family. He walks to the stand with measured steps, as if each movement requires conscious decision. Chukwudi, the judge says in a gentle voice, I understand this situation must be very difficult for you. I want you to know that you can speak freely. Do you remember your biological mother? Chukwudi swallows and glances briefly at Adabisi before answering. Yes, Your Honor, I have some vague memories. I remember there was a lot of confusion at home. I remember that sometimes there wasn't food and that my grandma Elanar would show up with bags from the market. I remember the day we arrived at her house and she bathed us, gave us clean clothes, and made us pepper soup. And how do you feel about your mother's absence during these years? Chukwudi closes his eyes for a moment. Your Honor, for a long time I was angry. I didn't understand why my mama didn't come back. My school friends had parents who picked them up, who went to their football matches, who helped them with homework. I had my grandma Elanar, who worked 2 jobs to support us and still never missed a school meeting. I watch Adabisi cry silently, but Chukwudi continues with a maturity that breaks my heart. When I turned 15, I stopped being angry. I understood that my grandma had sacrificed her peace of mind, her health, and her savings for us. I understood that she had no obligation to raise us, but she did it because she loves us. And now that your biological mother has returned requesting custody, how do you feel? Chukwudi looks directly at Adabisi. Mama, if I can call you that, I'm glad to know you're doing well. I'm glad to know you were able to overcome your problems. But I can't pretend these 13 years didn't happen. I can't pretend it doesn't hurt to know you formed another family while we grew up wondering what we had done wrong. The silence in the room is absolute. Adabisi sobs louder. Where would you like to live, Chukwudi? The judge asks. Your Honor, I'm already of legal age. I can legally make my own decisions, but if my answer can help protect my younger sisters, then the answer is clear. I want to stay with my grandma, Elanar. She's the one who raised us, who loves us unconditionally, who never abandoned us. Chukwudi returns to his seat and the judge calls Amara. My 18-year-old granddaughter walks to the stand with the grace that has always characterized her, but I can see the tension in her shoulders. Amara, you are also of legal age. What is your perspective on this situation? Amara takes a deep breath before speaking. Your Honor, I have clearer memories than Chukwudi because I was a little older when we came to live with my grandma. I remember my biological mama cried a lot. I remember that sometimes she would stay in bed all day and we had to take care of ourselves. Adabisi shouts from her seat. I was sick. I had postpartum depression. The judge silences her with a stern look. Please allow the young lady to finish. Amara continues, I understand you were sick, Mama, but I also remember the day we arrived at Grandma Elanar's house. For the first time in a long time, someone asked us if we had eaten. Someone read us stories before bed. Someone told us everything would be okay. Tears run down my cheeks as I listen to my granddaughter's words. Grandma Elanar took us to the psychologist when we had nightmares. She enrolled us in extracurricular activities so we wouldn't feel different from other children. When I was 14 and was diagnosed with juvenile diabetes, she learned about nutrition, about glucose measurement, about everything she needed to take care of me. The judge takes notes. And regarding staying with your biological mother or your grandmother? Your Honor, my biological mama is a stranger to me. I know she shares my blood, but my grandma Elanar shared my childhood, my adolescence, my fears, and my dreams. The decision is easy. Finally, the judge calls Adabisi. My youngest granddaughter, 16, approaches the stand with the determination that has always characterized her. She is the most physically similar to me, but she has a rebellious spirit that reminds me of Adabisi when she was young. Adabisi, you are a minor, but your opinion is very important to the court. What do you remember about your life before coming to live with your grandmother? Adabisi looks at Adabisi with an expression I can't decipher. Your Honor, I was very little, but I remember things. I remember being hungry. I remember crying and no one coming. I remember the smell of the house where we lived, a smell of sadness and abandonment. Adabisi folds in on herself as if her youngest daughter's words were physical blows. But I also remember the first day at Grandma Elanar's house. I remember she gave me a warm bath and put me in clean pajamas that smelled like Omo. I remember she made me warm Milo before bed and sang me a lullaby. Would you like to get to know your biological mother better? The judge asks. Adabisi thinks for a moment. Your Honor, I'm not going to lie. I'm curious to meet the woman who gave me life, but I'm also scared. Scared that she'll leave again. Scared that her promises are like the ones she made 13 years ago. And where do you feel safest? With my grandma Elanar, Your Honor. She has never failed me, never lied to me. When I asked her why my mama had left, she didn't invent pretty stories. She told me the truth that sometimes adults make difficult decisions and that she loved me enough to stay. Adabisi returns to her seat and the judge addresses me again. Mama Elanar, your grandchildren have been very clear in their preferences. Is there anything else the court should know before making a decision? I look at the yellow envelope in my hands and then I look at my 3 grandchildren. They have been brave in speaking their truth. Now it's my turn to be brave with mine. Yes, Your Honor. There's something else. Something that will completely change the perspective of this case. I pull the last document from the envelope. It's a sheet I've folded and unfolded so many times that the crease lines are permanent. This is a document I found 2 years ago among the things Adabisi abandoned in her apartment. A document she herself wrote and signed. Adabisi turns pale as a ghost. Her lawyer leans toward her, but my daughter shakes her head repeatedly. What kind of document, Mama Elanar? A voluntary renunciation of parental rights, Your Honor. Written in my daughter's own hand, signed and dated 3 days after she left the children with me. Judge Nwosu stands up abruptly, his expression transforming from professional curiosity to absolute shock. A voluntary renunciation of parental rights. Mama Elanar, are you sure about what you're saying? Completely sure, Your Honor. I extend the document towards the court clerk. This paper was among the things Adabisi abandoned in her apartment in Surulere. The landlady gave it to me, along with photographs and other personal documents my daughter left behind. Adabisi stumbles in her seat, as if she's about to faint. Her lawyer takes the document with trembling hands, and his face loses all color as he reads it. This can't be real, he murmurs. Read it aloud, please, the judge orders. The lawyer clears his throat and begins to read in a choked voice. I, Adabisi, 26 years of age, hereby voluntarily relinquish all my rights as mother of Chukwudi, 7 years old, Amara, 5 years old, and Adabisi, 3 years old. I acknowledge that I do not have the emotional, economic, or psychological capacity to raise them adequately. The silence in the room is so profound that you can hear the agitated breathing of everyone present. My grandchildren look at each other with expressions of confusion and pain. Continue, the judge says in a grave voice. I fully authorize my mother, Elanar, to make all legal, medical, and educational decisions related to my children. I waive any right to visit them, contact them, or claim them in the future. This decision is definitive and irrevocable, signed Adabisi, dated October 15, 2011. Adabisi breaks into hysterical sobs. I was crazy. I didn't know what I was writing. I was mentally ill. The judge raps his gavel repeatedly. Order. Mama Elanar, do you have witnesses that this document was written voluntarily by your daughter? Yes, Your Honor. The landlady of the building where Adabisi lived in Surulere, Mrs. Paula Sterling, can testify that my daughter asked her for paper and a pen to write an important letter 3 days after leaving the children. She can also confirm that Adabisi was conscious and coherent during those days. Attorney Oladell whispers urgently to his client, but Adabisi continues to sob uncontrollably. Furthermore, there's something else the court should know. Something I discovered only 2 weeks ago that explains why my daughter returned exactly now. All eyes are fixed on me. The tension in the room intensifies. Your Honor, I hired the private investigator not only to learn about my daughter's recent movements, but also to fully understand her current situation. What we discovered is revealing. I pull a small folder from my purse. Adabisi and her partner, Chijioke Okoro, are facing a severe financial crisis. 6 months ago, Chijioke lost his job. 4 months ago, they received an eviction notice from their home in Abuja. 3 months ago, exactly when they learned about my brother's inheritance, they began procedures to obtain custody of my grandchildren. Adabisi lifts her head, her eyes red from crying. Mama, please, let me finish, daughter. My voice is firm but not cruel. The investigator also discovered that you and Chijioke have been living on loans and credit cards. You owe more than 27 million naira, approximately $18,000, in accumulated debt. The judge reviews the documents I've provided, and you believe that your grandchildren's inheritance is the solution they're seeking for their financial problems. I don't believe it, Your Honor. I know it. I look directly at Adabisi, because a week ago, my daughter called me on the phone for the first time in 13 years. The surprise in the room is palpable. Even my grandchildren look at me in astonishment because I hadn't told them about this call. And what did she say in that call? The judge asks. She told me she had matured, that she had overcome her problems, and that she wanted to get her children back. When I asked her why, after so long, she said she had been saving money to offer them a better life. I paused dramatically. Then I asked her about my brother's inheritance. There was a long silence, and then she said, Mama, that money belongs to my children. I just want to make sure they receive it when the time is right. And what did you reply? I told her that her children already had access to that inheritance through me, their legal guardian, that the money was safe in a trust fund until each of them turned 21. It was then that her tone changed completely. Adabisi covers her face with her hands, knowing what's coming. She told me that as their biological mother, she had more right to manage that inheritance than I did. She told me she had consulted with a lawyer and could legally fight for custody. She threatened me, Your Honor. The judge leans forward. How did she threaten you? She told me that if I didn't voluntarily transfer custody and control of the inheritance, she would accuse me of kidnapping. She told me she had witnesses who could testify that I had intentionally alienated the children from her. She told me that a judge would always favor a biological mother over a grandmother. Chukwudi suddenly stands up from his seat. Grandma, why didn't you tell us she threatened you? Because I didn't want you to worry more than necessary, and because I knew the truth would come out at the right time. The judge raps his gavel. Young man, please take your seat. He looks at me. Mama Elanar, do you have that phone conversation recorded? No, Your Honor, but I have something better. After that call, my daughter sent me several text messages where she repeated her threats. Messages that are saved on my phone and that I have printed for the court. I pull out the message printouts and hand them to the clerk. The judge reads them in silence, his expression growing more severe with each message. Can you read some of these messages to the court? The judge asks. I take the printouts and read in a clear voice. Message from July 18th. Mama, think it over carefully. I'm the biological mother and any judge will side with me. Don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. I continue. Message from July 20th. I've been talking to my lawyer. He says what you did could be considered parental kidnapping. You could go to jail. And the last message, my voice grows firmer, from July 22nd. Mama, if you give me custody voluntarily, we can reach an agreement on the inheritance, 50-50. You keep half for having taken care of them. I keep half because I'm their mother. But if you force me to go to trial, I get everything. The judge places the documents on his desk and looks directly at Adabisi. Mrs. Adabisi, do you confirm that you sent these messages? Adabisi sobs, unable to articulate a word. Her lawyer looks completely defeated. Your Honor, I say softly, I want to make it clear that I'm not seeking revenge against my daughter. I understand that she went through difficult times when she was young. I understand that early motherhood and mental health problems can lead to desperate decisions. I look at Adabisi with sadness, but also with determination. But what I cannot accept is that after 13 years of total absence, after having formally relinquished her rights as a mother, after having formed a new family and completely forgotten about these children, she now returns only because money is involved. What do you request from the court? The judge asks. That my permanent legal guardianship over my minor grandchildren be confirmed, that my daughter's custody demand be completely rejected, and that a restraining order be issued preventing Adabisi from approaching the children unless they, when they are of legal age, voluntarily decide to have contact with her. Adabisi shouts from her seat, "You can't take my children away from me forever." I turn to her with an expression that mixes pain and firmness. Daughter, you yourself gave them up 13 years ago. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm just protecting what you abandoned. The judge declares a 30-minute recess to review all the documentation presented. The courtroom partially empties, but I remain seated in my place, holding my purse against my chest as if it were a protective shield. My grandchildren approach me, surrounding me with their arms in a silent embrace that speaks more than 1,000 words. Grandma, Adiz whispers, why did you never tell us she had given us up in writing? Because I wanted you to have the opportunity to form your own opinion about your mother when you were old enough to understand. I didn't want you to grow up with hatred in your hearts. Chukwudi squeezes my hand. But you lied to us all these years when you told us maybe she would come back. I didn't lie, my love. There was always the possibility that she would mature and return for the right reasons. I held on to that hope for a long time. I look to where Adabisi is sitting with her lawyer, talking in desperate whispers. But when she called me a week ago, I knew immediately that she hadn't returned for you. She had returned for the money. Amara sits next to me. What's going to happen now, Grandma? I don't know, my child, but I know we've told the truth, and that's all we can do. When the recess ends, Judge Nwosu takes his place on the bench. The courtroom fills again with palpable attention. Adabisi and her lawyer return to their table, but something has changed in her posture. She is more slumped, smaller, as if the truth had drained all her fighting energy. Ladies and gentlemen, the judge begins in a solemn voice, I have had time to review all the documentation presented. I must say that this case presents very disturbing elements that go beyond a simple custody dispute. He looks directly at Adabisi. Mrs. Adabisi, after examining the renunciation of parental rights written in your own hand, the text messages where you threaten your mother, and the documented history of abandonment for 13 years, I have some very serious questions to ask you. Adabisi stands up tremblingly, leaning on the table to maintain her balance. Do you confirm that you voluntarily wrote the renunciation of parental rights dated October 15, 2011? Your Honor, Attorney Oladell intervenes. My client was going through a severe mental health crisis at that time. She cannot be held responsible for decisions made under those circumstances. Attorney Oladell, the judge replies in a severe tone, I have reviewed the medical reports you presented as evidence of your client's depression. The documents show that she was discharged from psychiatric treatment 2 months before writing that renunciation. According to medical records, her doctor certified that she was mentally stable and posed no danger to herself or others. Adabisi stumbles and her lawyer helps her sit down. Furthermore, I have checked public records and found that Mrs. Adabisi legally married Mr. Chijioke Okoro on December 20, 2011, just 2 months after writing the renunciation of parental rights. Can you explain how someone mentally incapable of making decisions about their children could simultaneously make the legal decision to marry? The silence in the courtroom is absolute. I can hear my own heart pounding. Your Honor, Adabisi says with a broken voice, I just wanted to start over. I thought it would be better for everyone. Better for everyone or better for you? The judge's question is direct and sharp. Adabisi breaks into tears and cannot answer. The judge continues. Mrs. Adabisi, I have also reviewed the school records of your son, Chiboy, born in 2012. The documents show that you have been a present and active mother in his education. You have attended parent meetings, school events, and maintained a stable home for him for 11 years. This demonstrates that you did have the capacity to be a mother, but you chose to exercise that capacity only with the child who was convenient for you. Every word from the judge falls like a hammer. But most concerning of all, the judge says, raising the printed text messages, are these explicit threats you made to your mother. Threatening with false accusations of kidnapping is not only morally reprehensible, but constitutes extortion, a serious felony. Attorney Oladale stands up desperately. Your Honor, I request a recess to consult with my client about the possibility of withdrawing the lawsuit. Attorney Oladale, in light of the evidence presented, especially the threats of extortion, I have a legal obligation to refer this case to the State Council to evaluate whether criminal charges should be filed against your client. Adabisi shouts from her seat, No, please, I just wanted my children back. Mrs. Adabisi, the judge says in a severe voice, you did not want your children back. You wanted to recover the inheritance money. The evidence is overwhelmingly clear on that. He turns to me, Mama Elanar, do you wish to file charges for extortion against your daughter? The question catches me off guard. I look at Adabisi, who watches me with pleading eyes. Then I look at my grandchildren, who await my answer with tense expressions. Finally, I look into my heart and find an answer that surprises even me. Your Honor, I do not wish to file criminal charges against my daughter. Adabisi sighs with relief, but I continue. However, I do request a restraining order prohibiting her from contacting my grandchildren or me for a minimum period of 5 years unless through a legal representative and with the prior approval of this court. The judge nods. That seems like a reasonable request. Anything else, Mama Elanar? Yes, Your Honor. I request that it be established in the public record that Mrs. Adabisi voluntarily relinquished all her parental rights over Chukwudi, Amara, and Adaizi on October 15, 2011, and that any future attempt to claim custody or rights over these minors be considered frivolous and without legal merit. Granted, the judge says, making notes in his documents. Adabisi stands up, swaying. Mama, please don't do this. Don't take my children away from me forever. I turn to her. For the first time in this entire hearing, my voice comes out soft but unwavering. Adabisi, I'm not taking anything from you. You let them go 13 years ago. You wrote that renunciation. You chose to form another family and forget about them. I'm just protecting what you abandoned. But they're my children, she sobs. No, they are the children you had, but I am the one who raised them. I am the one who loves them unconditionally. I am the one who sacrificed my peace of mind, my health, and my money to give them a stable home. Chukwudi rises from his seat in the gallery. Your Honor, may I say something? The judge nods. Please approach. My grandson walks to the stand with the dignity of an adult man. Your Honor, I want it to be clear for the record that my sisters and I do not consider Adabisi our mother. She is the woman who gave us life, but our mother is Elanar, the woman who raised us, educated us, loved us, and never abandoned us. He turns to Adabisi, and I want you to know, Adabisi, that if you ever truly change in the future, if you can ever offer genuine love without expecting anything in return, if you can ever prove that you have truly matured, then perhaps we will consider getting to know you as a person. But you will never be our mother. That title has been earned by Grandma Elanar. Adabisi sobs uncontrollably, but Chukwudi is not finished. And about Uncle Arthur's inheritance, I want you to know that when we turn 21 and can freely dispose of that money, A portion will go to Grandma Elanar because she deserves to be rewarded for all the sacrifices she made for us. Amara and Adaze rise from their seats and join their brother in front of the stand. I also want to say something, Amara says with a clear voice. Adabisi, I don't hate you, but I don't know you either. To me, you're a stranger who shared some of her DNA with me. My real family is here with my grandma Elanar and my siblings. Adaze, the youngest, looks Adabisi directly in the eyes. And I want you to know that if you had come back for love, if you had come back because you really missed us, maybe we could have built something. But you came back for money, and that tells us everything we need to know about who you really are. The judge gently taps his gavel. Hereby, this court rules the following. The permanent legal guardianship of Mama Elanar over minors Amara and Adaeze is confirmed. A 5-year restraining order is established against Mrs. Adabisi. The custody demand filed by Mrs. Adabisi is declared null and void, and she is prohibited from filing similar lawsuits in the future without substantial new evidence of a change in circumstances. Adabisi collapses completely, held up only by her lawyer. Mama, she whispers, will you ever be able to completely forgive me? I walk towards her slowly, feeling the weight of all these years on my shoulders. When I reach her side, I place my hand on her tear-streaked cheek. Adabisi, I forgave you a long time ago, but forgiveness doesn't mean I can allow you to hurt these children again. They have suffered enough. What am I going to do now? She asks in a lost little girl's voice. You're going to go back home. You're going to take care of the child you have. You're going to work on yourself, on being a better person. And perhaps someday in the future, when you have truly changed, my grandchildren will decide for themselves if they want to meet you. And if Chijioke leaves me because I didn't get the money, I sigh deeply, then perhaps it's time you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, daughter. Perhaps it's time you stop basing your decisions on what men expect from you. The judge stands, indicating that the hearing is over. This court is closed. As we leave the courtroom, I feel a strange mix of triumph and sadness. I won the legal battle, but I lost hope that my daughter had returned for the right reasons. But when my grandchildren surround me with their arms in the courthouse hallway, I know I made the right decisions. Sometimes love means protecting those you love, even if it hurts those you also love. If you've ever had to make a tough decision to protect your family, I want you to hit that like button right now. This story is for you. And if you believe in the power of unconditional love, share this with someone who needs to see it. 3 months after the trial, I'm sitting in my small kitchen in Yaba, watching Adaze practice guitar for her school recital. The evening light streams through the window and illuminates her concentrated face. Chukwudi is in university studying engineering on a full scholarship we secured after much effort. Amara works part-time at a bookstore in Lekki while finishing secondary school. Life has found its rhythm again, but differently, more peacefully. There's no longer that constant tension of wondering if someone will come to take the children. No more sleepless nights thinking about legal demands. The restraining order has given us the peace we needed. The doorbell rings and I go to open it. It's Mama Ngozi, my neighbor and the judge's sister, bringing a tray of freshly made moi moi. Elanar, look what I brought you, she says with her maternal smile. I know you've been working hard, and I thought these would do you good. Thanks, Ngozi. Come in. Let's have some zobo. As we prepare the drinks, Ngozi looks at me with that expression I know well. She has something to say. Just say it, Ngozi. I've known you for 40 years. It's about Adabisi. My brother Emeka told me she's been asking for information on how to appeal the decision. I feel a knot in my stomach, but I take a deep breath. And what did they tell her? That she has no legal grounds to appeal. That the renunciation of parental rights she wrote is valid, especially considering her subsequent behavior. But Elanar, there's something else. Chijioke left her last week. He took their son, Chiboy, and told her he couldn't stay with a woman who had lost 150 million naira, approximately $100,000, for being stupid. The news hits me like a slap. Despite everything Adabisi did, she's still my daughter. It hurts to know she's suffering. Where is she living now? In a small room in Mushin. She's working cleaning offices at night. Emeka says she looks terrible. Very thin, very sad. Daisy stops playing guitar and approaches us. Are you talking about my biological mama? Yes, my love, I reply honestly. It seems she's going through a difficult time. Daisy sits next to me. Do you feel bad for her, Grandma? The question takes me by surprise with its maturity. Yes, I feel bad. Despite everything that happened, she's still my daughter. I don't like knowing she's suffering. But that doesn't mean we did anything wrong by defending ourselves, right? I smile and caress her hair. No, my love. Sometimes in life, we have to make difficult decisions. You can feel compassion for someone and at the same time protect yourself from them. Ngozi interrupts us gently. Elanar, there's something else you should know. Adabisi has been asking about the children. She hasn't violated the restraining order, but she's been asking neighbors how they are, if they're doing well in school, if they need anything. Do you think she's planning something? I ask with concern. I don't know, but Emeka wanted you to know just in case. That night, after Adaisi goes to sleep, I stay awake thinking about Adabisi. I imagine her alone in that small room, without her partner, without her son, without a stable job. The next day, I make a decision that surprises even me. I go to the market in Yaba and buy a week's worth of food. Rice, beans, chicken, vegetables, bread, milk. I pack it all into bags and take an Okada to the address Ngozi had given me in Mushin. The building is old and run down. I climb the stairs to the third floor and knock on the door. I hear slow footsteps and then Adabisi's voice through the door. Who is it? It's me, Adabisi, your mama. There's a long silence, then the sound of bolts opening. The door opens and I see my daughter. Ngozi was right. She looks terrible. She has lost a lot of weight, deep dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes are clean, but very worn. Mama, she whispers, as if she can't believe I'm there. What are you doing here? I brought you some things. May I come in? She steps aside and I enter the room. It's small but clean, an old mat on the floor, a small kerosene stove in the corner, a bucket for water. On a wooden crate are stacked unpaid bills. Why? She asks as I put the bags down. Because you're my daughter. Because despite everything that happened, I can't see you go hungry. Adabisi collapses on the mat and breaks into tears. Mama, I lost everything. Chijioke took Chiboy. He told me I was a loser, that I had had the opportunity to get easy money and had ruined it by being sentimental. I sit next to her on the mat. And what did you tell him? Nothing. I didn't say anything because I knew he was right. I'm a loser. I lost my first children. I lost the inheritance. I lost Chiboy. I lost my house. Adabisi, I say in a soft but firm voice. You didn't lose your first children. You abandoned them. There's a difference. She looks at me with eyes swollen from crying. You're always going to remind me of my mistakes. I'm not going to remind you, but I'm also not going to let you rewrite history. If you really want to change, you have to start by accepting the truth of what you did. And what truth is that? I stand up and walk to the small window overlooking the crowded street below. That you had 3 beautiful children and you abandoned them because they weren't convenient for your new relationship. That you formed another family and completely forgot about them for 13 years. That you only came back when money was involved. I know all that. I live with that guilt every day. I turn to her. Guilt is useless, Adabisi. Guilt is disguised self-pity. What is useful is genuine repentance and a real desire to change. And how do you know if my repentance is genuine? Because if it were genuine, you wouldn't have come back asking for custody. You would have come back asking for forgiveness. You would have come back asking how you could help, not what you could get. Adabisi remains silent for a long time. Finally, she asks, is there any way I can ever meet my children again? Maybe, but it would have to be on their terms, when they are ready, if they ever are. And in the meantime, work on yourself, get psychological help, find a stable job, learn to live alone without depending on a man, become the woman you would have wanted their mother to be. I walk towards the door. The food will last you a week. After that, you'll have to manage on your own. Will you visit me again? She asks in a small voice. I don't know, Adabisi. That depends on you, on the decisions you make from now on. I leave the room feeling strange. I don't know if I did the right thing by coming here, but I know I couldn't let my daughter go hungry, no matter what she had done. When I get home, Chukwudi is in the kitchen studying. He looks up when I enter. Grandma, where were you? I was looking for you. I went to see your biological mama. His expression changes immediately. Why? Because she's hungry and she's still my daughter. Chukwudi closes his books and looks at me seriously. Grandma, I hope that doesn't mean you're going to let her back into our lives. No, my love. It means I'm capable of feeling compassion without compromising our safety. He nods slowly. Do you think she'll ever really change? I don't know. But if she does, it will be because she decided to change, not because we pressured her or rescued her. That night, as I prepare for bed, I think about the lessons this experience has taught us. Sometimes the truest love is the one that sets boundaries. Sometimes protecting those you love means saying no to those you also love. And sometimes, just sometimes, justice isn't revenge. Justice is simply allowing the natural consequences of someone's decisions to manifest while you choose love over resentment. 1 year after the trial, I'm sitting in my small garden in Yaba, watching the vegetables I planted in spring grow. Chukwudi graduated with first-class honors from university. He got a job at an engineering firm in Victoria Island. Amara was accepted into university with a partial scholarship. Ades, now 17, leads her school's band. Uncle Arthur's inheritance remains untouched in their trust accounts, waiting for each of them to turn 21. But most importantly, my grandchildren have flourished without the constant shadow of fear of abandonment. Mama Ngozi arrives with news. Elanar, I have to tell you something about Adabisi. What happened now? I ask, mentally preparing myself. She enrolled in psychological therapy at a community center in Mushin. She's been attending religiously for 6 months. Emeka told me she's paying for the sessions herself with her cleaning job. The news genuinely surprises me. And there's more. She got a day job as a receptionist at a clinic in Ikeja. She no longer cleans offices at night. She looks better, more stable. Has she asked about the children? No. In fact, they told her you had visited her, and she replied that her mama had already done enough for her, that now it was her turn to prove she could change without help. I feel strangely proud of my daughter for the first time in years. That afternoon, Ades comes home from school with a thoughtful expression. Grandma, can I ask you something? Always, my love. Do you think I'll ever want to acknowledge my biological mama? The question doesn't surprise me. I knew this moment would eventually come. I don't know, Ades. It's a decision only you can make when you're ready. Would you be upset if someday I decided to meet her? No, my love. I would be proud of you for making your own decisions as a responsible adult. And if I decided never to meet her? I would be proud of that too. The decision is completely yours. Now I want to ask you something. Do you think Elanar made the right decision in showing compassion to her daughter? Would you have done the same? Let's get a discussion going in the comments. I really want to hear your thoughts on this. That night, as I prepare dinner, I reflect on everything we've lived through. For years, I held resentment towards Adabisi. Resentment for leaving me with a responsibility that wasn't mine. Resentment for forgetting about her children. Resentment for coming back only for money. But now, after all this time, I realized that resentment was a chain that tied both her and me. When I let go of it, I freed myself. Last week, Amara turned 19. During the celebration, she told me something that filled my heart. Grandma, thank you for saving us, but more than that, thank you for teaching us that true love doesn't abandon. Chukwudi, now 21, has full access to his inheritance. The first thing he did was set aside 9 million naira, approximately $6,000 for me. For everything you spent on us all these years, he told me. I accepted the money, not because I needed it, but because it was important for him to give it to me. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if Adabisi had come back for the right reasons, if she had come asking for forgiveness instead of demanding custody, if she had shown genuine repentance instead of legal threats. Maybe we would have found a way to coexist. Maybe we would have been able to build something resembling an extended family. But life isn't about maybes. It's about the decisions we make with the information we have at the moment. I chose to protect 3 abandoned children. I chose to love them unconditionally when their own mother couldn't. I chose to sacrifice my peace of mind and my resources to give them stability. And when it came time to defend them, I chose to fight for them with all my strength. I regret none of those decisions. Today, as I watch Adabisi practice guitar, Amara study for her university exams, and Chukwudi plan his professional future, I know I made the right decisions. They are responsible, empathetic, hard-working adults. They are good people who contribute positively to the world. They are living proof that unconditional love and firm boundaries can coexist. Sometimes people ask me if I hate Adabisi for what she did. The answer is no. I don't hate her, but I don't excuse her either. I understand she was young when she had her children. I understand that motherhood can be overwhelming. I understand that we all make mistakes. But I also understand that some mistakes have permanent consequences. And choosing to abandon your children isn't a mistake. It's a decision that defines who you are as a person. Adabisi chose her new life over her children. I chose those children over my comfort. We both live with the consequences of our decisions. The difference is that I can sleep peacefully at night, knowing that I always put the children's well-being first. She will have to live forever, knowing that she abandoned them when they needed her most. If there's one lesson in all this, it's that justice doesn't always come in the form of punishment. Sometimes justice is simply each person receiving exactly what their actions deserve. I deserve the unconditional love of my grandchildren because I gave them unconditional love for 13 years. Adabisi deserves the absence of that love because she chose to be absent for 13 years. It's not revenge, it's natural consequence. And perhaps if she has truly changed, if she is truly working on herself, someday my grandchildren will decide to give her a chance. But it will be their decision, on their terms, when they are ready. In the meantime, I will continue to be what I have always been. Their grandmother, their protector, their safe home, their unconditional love. Because that's how true love works. It doesn't abandon, it doesn't negotiate, it doesn't set conditions. It simply is. Constant like the dawn, strong like the roots of an Iroko tree, silent like a prayer that never ends. And that, at the end of the day, is enough. If this story touched your heart, don't just walk away. Subscribe to this channel right now so you don't miss more powerful stories like this. Hit that subscribe button. You won't regret it. Did you like my story? Which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story. With love and respect.